Was I wrong about the Baofeng UV-5R Mini? Does it actually transmit spurious emissions? Let's get into it. Hey guys, I'm Kevin and this is Comms by Kemp Outside. We're your inside source for outdoor comms. We're a brand new YouTube channel focused on outdoor communications, whether it's ham radio, GMRS, FRS, MERS, marine VHF, Meshtastic, satellite internet, anything that you could consider for outdoor comms we cover here on Comms by Kemp Outside. Well guys, I recently released a video on the Baofeng UV-5R Mini, and it is the highest performing video to date on my channel, and my channel is like 45 days old. So I was really excited about that, but then I started to go check out other people's videos on the Baofeng UV-5R Mini, and I noticed that my results in spurious emissions testing was different than other channels that I seriously trust. Guys like Gadget Talk and the Smoking Ape both did spurious emissions tests on the Baofeng UV-5R Mini, and it didn't pass. And in my test, it did. So I started to ask myself, did I do something wrong? So I reached out to the Smoking Ape on YouTube, and guys, this is one of the best things about the ham radio community, is that people are always willing to help. And so I really want to thank the Smoking Ape for kind of walking me through this. I bought a TinySA based on his videos because I really wanted to be able to test my own radios. I wanted to know whether or not my radios were passing the spurious emissions test. It was really important to me. But what I found out was my methodology for testing the radios is different from his. And so he did take a little bit of time to explain certain things to me, especially on things like attenuation and the relationship between dB and wattage in terms of power output and stuff like that. So one of the things that is so great about the Smoking Apes channel is that he takes a lot of time to educate radio operators on the fundamentals of how their radios work. And for those of us who don't have a formal education in electronics, his videos are amazing. So guys, I'm gonna put a link right up here to his Baofeng UV-5R Mini video, and I want you guys to check that out, right? Really watch his video and listen to what he has to say. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy his methodology exactly and retest my Baofeng UV-5R Mini to see if I get the same results that he did. And so one of the things that he pointed out was that I was only using 40 dB of attenuation, and what he rightly pointed out to me was that in the TinySA's own literature, and I'm going to refer to it on my iPad right over here, for best measurements, keep input power below -25 dBm. So if I was transmitting 5 watts without any attenuation, and that would be 36.99 dBm, right? We need to get that down to -25 dBm. So what we need is we need the right amount of attenuation. And the way to do that, or the way to get close, is by running 70 dB of attenuation, right? So I have my 40 dB attenuator that I had to start with. I went ahead and ordered a 30 dB attenuator, and I'm going to just screw those together, and that'll give me 70 dB of attenuation. Now these are 10 watt attenuators, right? So these are suitable for handhelds, but you're definitely going to want something bigger, something that can handle more high power if you're testing, mobile radios or anything that transmits more than 10 watts. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my Baofeng UV-5R Mini and screw those attenuators into the antenna port. Okay, then I'm going to attach the cable that's in the RF port on the TinySA Ultra and connect that to the attenuators. Then I'm going to get the camera turned around here, and we're going to set up the TinySA and test for spurious emissions. All right guys, so here we can see the TinySA is running. I'm going to go ahead and set it up for spurious emissions testing, and I'm going to try and keep my hand out of the way. I need to figure out how Smoking Ape attaches this to his computer, because I tried and I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, I'm going to come in here and hit the menu. The first thing we're going to do is hit measure, right? And then we're going to hit harmonic 146.52 megahertz. Now we're going to enter the span. And as I understand it, this is the span around each harmonic of 146.52. And so we're going to set that to 10 megahertz. Okay, so each one of these columns in between the blue lines indicates a harmonic of 146.52 megahertz. Next thing we need to do is take into account our attenuation. So I'm going to go to level, external gain, right? We're going to go to negative 70, which is 40 plus 30 times 1, right? Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our line. And Smoking Ape pointed out that my line wasn't drawn correctly, so I updated the firmware, and that seemed to fix this. So I'm going to go to Display, Draw a Line, and I'm going to go negative 16.02 times 1. That line indicates 25 microwatts, right? So no spur should be above that horizontal blue line, right? And then on top of that, any spur needs to be 40 dB below the fundamental. So, okay, we're going to turn on our radio here. All right, you can see we're in 146.52. I'm going to go ahead and just push that out of the way. All right, here we go. It's 146.52 on high power. Let's see what we get. Okay, so in this test, it looks like we only have one harmonic above the blue line, right? And it is 54 dB down from the fundamental. But it is above the blue line. So this is a fail. And that harmonic is at 1.02 gigahertz. It keeps bouncing around on the screen, so it's hard to read it. But 1.02 gigahertz is where that spur is. All right, I'm going to unkey it. I'm going to just do it one more time just to see. And it looks like we are getting the same results, although this time spurs 5 and 6 popped up and 8 is down a little bit. Looks like 5 and 6 are under the blue line and 8 is a lot closer to the blue line here. So, you know, again, still a fail, but a lot closer. And we'll just do one more just for the fun of it. And that one you can see 8 is a little bit higher again. So this radio is close, but a fail according to this test. All right, guys, so I switched over to the other Baofeng UV-5R Mini since they have two, and I'm going to go ahead and test this one. So transmitting on 146.52. You know, this one, right, is a lot closer, right? And that number 5 harmonic is below the blue line. That number 8 harmonic might be below the blue line. I mean, that is really close, guys. And I don't know if I would call this a fail, just from the standpoint of, I don't know how accurate the TinySA Ultra is compared to a lot higher end test equipment. I'm going to unkey and we'll do it again just to see, right? I mean, to me, that number 8 looks like it's below the blue line. I mean, it's open, it just dropped out. I mean, that is super close, guys. This might be a legal radio. So you tell me in the comments, what do you think? Is this legal? Boy, it sure looks legal to me. So, you know, that's interesting to me. I don't know what to think on these UV-5R Minis. So guys, Baofeng gets a bad rap. And so what I want to do is, just for the fun of it, I want to test one of my favorite waterproof Baofeng radios, cheap Baofeng radios. This is the Baofeng UV-9R Pro. Let's hit it and see what happens. Well, there's no question about that transmitter, right? That is a clean Baofeng. Good thing too, because I use this radio all the time. Okay guys, so that was definitely a mixed bag of results. And the first thing that I can confidently say, right, is that the TinySA is less accurate at higher input levels, right? So you really need to attenuate your signal down to the input level that this needs. And I guess I kind of have a question about that, right? I wonder if these attenuators are attenuating the signal down that far has any effect on the accuracy of the unit. And this is just an open-ended question, guys, from a guy who is not formally trained in, signal analysis and all that stuff, right? But, I've got to think that converting it from 5 watts to 0.0009 watts is a big deal. But, maybe not, right? So, I'm not throwing any shade on the TinySA Ultra. I really, really like it, and I think it's a great diagnostic tool. Also, it is not a unit that's calibrated like, thousands of dollar, equipment that until recently, ham radio operators didn't have any tool that came even close to this. If they wanted to do this kind of testing, they'd have to spend thousands of dollars on lab grade equipment, right? But then the question is that Baofeng that was super close or maybe even under, right? Does this pass or not? I don't know. I would say that it was close enough to me that I would run this radio without hesitation. It was close enough. Now the other one, right? The other UV-5R Mini that had that spur up at 1.2 gig or whatever it was. Guys, I got to question whether, it absolutely failed, right? And I want to promote good amateur radio practice, right? I want to promote proper radio operation, right? But I think there are times when the letter of the law and the spirit of the law are kind of two different things, right? By the letter of the law, this fails, right? It has a spur above 25 microwatts at 1 point, whatever it was, gigahertz, right? I got a question though, in practicality, is that signal getting out and how far and what would it interfere with, right? So, it's operating at 5 watts and it's, a tiny fraction of that amount of power. And it's being transmitted through an antenna that isn't set up for or optimized for that frequency. And yes, I understand that it's a harmonic, right? So harmonics should be somewhat resonant on, the antenna. But, what's its range? How far is it reaching? Is a 1.2 gigahertz transmission out of this radio and this antenna at a little over 25 microwatts, is it traveling any farther than 100 yards or 500 yards or, whatever. And even if it is, what's it affecting, right? I'm much more of a follower of the spirit of the law than the letter of the law. That's just my personality, right? Speed limits or guidelines, right? That kind of thing. But I absolutely don't want to interfere with anything. And my problem is I don't know. I don't know whether this radio would interfere with something at that frequency that it shouldn't interfere with, or if it's completely harmless. And that's the problem with radios that transmit spurious emissions, right? I have 2 radios that sit in a drawer because under testing, they transmitted spurious emissions on the first harmonic, right? So, right next to the fundamental of 14652 is like 239 megahertz, which I think is right in the middle of the military aircraft band, right? 239 something, I think, is right in there, right? It's AM aircraft band. I think the military uses it. I'm not entirely sure. If you know for sure, drop some in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me exactly what that harmonic is. But the bottom line is the last thing I want to interfere with is aircraft. The last thing I want to interfere with is the military. And I definitely don't want to interfere with military aircraft, right? MacDill Air Force Base is, in the vicinity. I live right between MacDill Air Force Base and Avon Park bombing range, right? The last thing I want to do is interfere with military aircraft, right? And I don't, you know, I don't know that it does, right? I don't know, but I don't want to take the chance, right? So those radios sit in a drawer and never to be used. And I kind of hold on to them just to do spurious emissions testing every once in a while and like compare, like this is a bad radio versus, you know, this is what a bad radio looks like, that kind of thing. So that's the only time I ever pull them out. Now, is something like this, right, that's transmitting very low wattage at 1 point whatever gigahertz on an antenna like this, is it having any practical effect? I don't know. If you are an electronics expert, I would love to know what you think about this. Drop something in the comments below. I guess where I'm at with these radios is that I really, really, really like them. And so I'm really, really, really torn. And I guess that if they fail, I have to take the same stance that I have taken every other time a radio has failed, and that my official recommendation is that you do not buy these. And that really, really sucks. Baofeng, come on guys. You have proven that you can put out radios with clean transmitters, right? This thing is like 30 bucks on Amazon. If you can put a clean transmitter in here, you can put a clean transmitter in here, right? That really just ticks me off. It really disappoints me that these aren't clean. These guys, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, they're close, right? They're really close. They might even be close enough that this isn't accurate enough to definitively say whether or not these fail. Like, these should be elevated to a higher level of testing. And you know, sometimes there's testing equipment at Hamcation in Orlando where they have some fancy equipment and you can take your radio in and have it tested. And I might take these UV-5R Minis there and have them test them on some higher cost equipment to see if they agree with the results of the TinySA. So I don't know what I'm going to do on the Baofeng Mini, guys, and I would really love to hear what you guys think. What do you think about the results of this spurious emissions test, especially on the Baofeng Mini? Would you still use these radios? Are they close enough, right? Or would you say definitively, nope, they didn't pass, we're going to pass on them? I'd really love to know what you think, so definitely drop something in the comments below. Guys, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with these now. I was really, really excited. They were going to go in a Go kit for the car. I was going to have 4 of them set up in a little case with some, you know, their standard antennas with some high gain antennas, a charging brick, and some USB-C cables. And they were going to be my go-to emergency radios in the car. And quite honestly, they might still end up in that role, because in an emergency, I don't know if I'm going to care about a tiny spur at 1.2 gigahertz, but maybe not. You know, maybe I'm going to go back to the old trusty Baofeng UV-5R that I have over here, and I tested these a while ago, and these passed with flying colors. So again, Baofeng, you can make a clean radio. You know, and you know that all of us on YouTube are going to test these things, right? All of us are going to go do spurious emissions on cheap Chinese radios. You know that. Right? So why would you put out a radio that's as cool as this? I would recommend the crap out of this radio if it had a spurious emissions test like the UV-9R Pro. Guys, I'm ticked off. You know, Radioddity sent me these for review, and I really appreciate it when companies send me radios. And one of the things I want to do is recommend the radios that people send me for review. Out of appreciation for sending me the radio, I want to tell people, hey guys, these are great, go buy them. But I can't do that, right? I would probably recommend some other radios on Radioddity's website, but not the UV-5R Mini. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I am really disappointed. So I know there's a lot of Baofeng haters out there, and they're going to be like, Kevin, what did you expect from Baofeng? Well, what I expected from Baofeng was a clean transmitter like this one does. You know what? Guys, I'm going to announce it early. If you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to give away one of these. No, you know what? I'm going to give away 2 of these. I'm going to give away 2 UV-9R Pros for our next giveaway. You've heard it here, folks. Stay tuned for the official announcement video. It's going to come out when we reach 150 subscribers. But this is what we're going to give away, because I know they're clean, they're waterproof, and they're awesome. Guys, I'm Kevin, and this is Comms by Kemp Outside. We're your inside source for outdoor comms. Again, I want to thank the Smoking Ape for taking all the time to educate me on the TinySA. I love the ham radio community, guys. They are super helpful. I want to thank Radioddity for sending me the Baofeng UV-5R Mini. I guess maybe they're probably wishing they hadn't sent them to me now. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm not going to lie to you. So thanks for watching. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that little bell icon that notifies you and release new videos. If you have any questions or thoughts about anything you saw in the video, drop some in the comments below. I would love to have a discussion on these radios. I'd love to have a discussion on spurious emissions. I'd love to have a discussion on, in practicality, does it matter or does it not? You know, does it depend on the spur, right? Does it matter how high the spur is as to whether or not it should be, you know, considered or not considered for use? Guys, I'd love to hear what you think. You can also connect with us on other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, or our website at kempoutside.com. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you outside.